picture this. You're sitting at your desk, it's late at night, caffeinated beverage in hand, and you're flipping through your favorite rulebooks. When it hits you, why not bring the horrors of Warhammer 40k via Tyranids straight into your Dungeons & Dragons campaign? Okay, maybe it didn't hit you, but it hit me. I'm a Warhammer fan. I've been a Warhammer fan before I was a D&D fan, and I've recently decided to spend most of my time painting Warhammer minis, so naturally, this would be my thought. So today we're going to walk through the process that I've been undertaking to create a custom D&D subclass from start to finish, using the Tyranid-inspired Hive Mind Warlock patron as our muse. We'll cover everything from the initial inspiration and theme to balancing the mechanics, adding cool, unique features, and reacting to the feedback. And if you're interested in getting your hands on this custom subclass, you can check out the alpha version over on my Patreon. And hey, if the words chitinous monstrosity don't get you a little bit excited, maybe the promise of a telepathic bug buddy will. If you're into tentacles, this video might also be for you. I enlisted one of my good friends, patron, and self-proclaimed D&D optimizer, Drainos, to help me refine this subclass. Seriously, I couldn't do it without you. My first bit of advice is to start with a strong theme. For this build, we are, once again, of course, inspired by the Tyranids. Imagine them as an intergalactic, all-you-can-eat buffet line for planetary life. They're massive swarms of alien creatures linked by a single hive mind, endlessly consuming and evolving. If the Tyranids are new to you, think of them as cosmic termites on steroids. Instead of nibbling on your deck, they'll swallow your entire world and then not so politely ask what's for dessert. Transplanting that vibe into D&D, we went to a warlock. Warlocks embody this collective intelligence. They already have a patron called the Great Old One, so granting them powers from the many is just something that naturally fit. They're going to draw from the telepathic domains and ceaseless adaptation. The first tip in subclass design is to always have a striking concept. Does it excite you, frighten you just a little bit? Perfect, that's where you want to go. And then when it comes to designing custom D&D subclasses, mechanics are the lifeblood that keep your concept both playable and distinct. In the case of our Tyranid-inspired Warlock patron, we started by identifying one defining theme, an all-consuming alien intelligence that grants its followers the power of a vast collective mind. With that core in place, every mechanic from new spells to summoned creatures have to reinforce the sense of belonging to a relentless swarm. We didn't want to just toss in a random pile of features and hope that the end result felt hive mind. Instead, we systematically asked, does this choice showcase the hive mind? If yes, it stayed, and if not, it got trimmed or reworked until it fit perfectly. When you're designing a custom subclass, you have to have thick skin. Me, for example, I throw endless amounts of flavor, and then Drainos goes, this is stupid. And at the end of the day, we come up with an amazing feature that is a blend of both worlds. The optimized, but the narratively cool. What do you think, Baby Yoda? Do you think warlocks are cool? I see you trying to do an Eldritch Blast. Now, warlocks often overlap in theme. For example, the Great Old One deals with telepathy and otherworldly influences. We needed to determine what our hive mind felt like so that it didn't feel just like a reskinned Great Old One. And that's where we came up with something called the Chittering Nexus. We wanted a signature feature that screamed living alien swarm every time it hit the battlefield, summoning a specialized hive beast that evolves, develops new abilities, and remains bound by a psychic tether instantly set us apart from the typical eldritch horror in your head vibe. Our approach highlighted a single consistent mechanic, this unstoppable bug ally that changes as you grow stronger. So the subclass wasn't just a laundry list of random abilities. By zeroing in on that one idea, we ensured that the Hive Mind Warlock would stand out. It feels like it's part of a single living entity rather than a patchwork of unrelated concepts. But then we had to balance this. Summoning a companion and then balancing it so that it's not overpowered and doesn't overshadow the core Warlock features can be tricky. We studied existing summoning spells like the Beastmaster Ranger and other pet-based classes. We noted how easily things can get out of hand, looking at you, Twilight Cleric, when features go overboard. Our solution was to add costs and limitations that kept the Warlock from overshadowing the rest of the party. For instance, when you're summoning your Chittering Nexus, you can only do it once per day for free. Then trying extra summons requires using a pact slot. This gave a sense of resource management, and it also handled potentially over-tuning features like an ongoing temporary hit point thing by making them earned through combat or by limiting their duration and frequency. Since the Chittering Nexus has multiple summoned variants, it also gives a sense of picking what you need for the day, but if you pick wrong, you're not punished too badly. The first iteration of this feature, you could only summon it once per day, period. It was a little bit overtuned, so we accommodated. In this manner, our Warlock doesn't feel too tanky or overshadow the party's actual tank. Instead, it's a powerful and thematic, conditional way that stays on the just right side of the power curve. We also put a lot of thought into the archetype evolutions, ensuring that each path was mechanically and narratively coherent. A Ravager, tear-apart style beast needed big melee damage, while the bulkwork version needs to be more of a walking fortress. A brood tender had to share synergy with allies, and a harrier needs stealthy scouting tricks. Each path received level-based power boosts, like new attack dice or abilities, so that they remained relevant at every tier of play. And the big balancing act was making them exciting without letting them trivialize encounters. For example, multi-attack at lower levels might break the game if the beast's damage is too high. So we scaled it to come online later and used the Warlock's proficiency bonus as a limiter on raw power. On top of that, to keep the Hive Mind Warlock on theme, we asked ourselves, is this really Tyranid-like? And what would we prioritize? The answer was always adaptation, infiltration, and unstoppable growth, and then, of course, synergy. Adaptation took shape in rules like reactive resistances or new mutations as Warlock levels up. Infiltration and synergy-inspired features where the Nexus helps or coordinates allies. Encouraging players to think like a communal swarm, these mechanics originally built on one another, reinforcing a sense of unstoppable evolution at every level. And then lastly, we checked our final design against official Warlock subclasses. Did we outclass the Hexblade's melee potential? Were we stepping on a Fiend Warlock's toes with easy damage boosts? Did we overshadow the Great Old One's telepathy by giving out free Hive Mind communication? The best way to avoid those pitfalls was to keep our mechanics distinct. Everything had to serve the notion of an ever-shifting swarm, either through flavor or raw utility. If something looks too similar to existing features, like unconditional telepathy or mass healing, we modified it or cut it to preserve the Hive Mind's unique identity. In the end, the biggest takeaway is that a subclass should feel cohesive, balanced, and driven by central inspiration. Our Tyranid Warlock isn't just a Warlock that can talk to bugs. It's a Warlock who has become a living extension of a cosmic swarm. By tying together a single, recognizable theme with consistent mechanical hooks like the Chittering Nexus, archetype evolutions, and adaptive power, we created a final design that feels fresh and different from standard Warlocks and inherently balanced for most tables, I think. Sprinkle in a little cosmic horror, some weird exoskeleton descriptions, and voila, you've got a horrifyingly fun way to play. So I've talked a lot about the Chittering Nexus, so what exactly is it? Imagine a twisted living extension of a galactic swarm, part pet, part weapon, and wholly alien. That's the Chittering Nexus. It's the core feature, if you will, of this subclass. In Warhammer 40k's Tyranid lore, the swarm is a ferocious entity whose countless creatures share a hive mind. Translating that into the essence of D&D meant crafting a warlock patron who could grow an organic minion right out of their own connection to a cosmic predator. This nexus isn't just a random monster you summon, it's more of a physical manifestation of the hive mind's will, an embodiment of its endless hunger and cunning. From the moment you summon it at level 3, it becomes your constant companion in battle, an insectile monstrosity that you can shape into one of 4 archetypes: the Ravager, Bulwark, Broodtender, or Harrier. A brutal melee prowess, impenetrable defense, party support, or sneaky recon. And it grows stronger with you over time. One of the core features being that its control range extends as you level up. And when it leaves control range, harkening back to Tyranid theme, it goes wild and attacks the closest creature, friend or foe. Mechanically, the Nexus is designed to carry out the Tyranid feel into every corner of gameplay. First, it's always evolving, and at higher levels, you pick new mutations and features, reinforcing the idea that the hive mind is perpetually adapting. This means if the party is facing a fire-spewing dragon one day, the Nexus might later sprout flame-retardant plating, or new claws for rending scales. Second, we balance the Nexus by tying it to pack slots for extra summons and limiting its movement range, keeping it too far away and the psychic bond snaps, sending it into a rampage. This ensures that while the Warlock can have a powerful pet, they still need to manage positioning and resources responsibly. And if you really want to sell the Tyranid horror, describe how its chitinous plates are sticky with ichor and goo and nasty stuff. Or how its multi-eyed gaze tracks enemies with voracious intensity. It's the narrative flair that can take this class above and beyond. And beyond just the Nexus, the Hive Mind Warlock contains some abilities that really complete the theme. One of the highlights is the ability to consume a fallen foe, pulling essence from its corpse to regain a pack slot or borrow one of its movements or resistances. It's a direct nod to how Tyranids assimilate the DNA of conquered species, and it fits D&D's resource-based system like a glove. You can imagine your Warlock crouched over the remains of a defeated dragon, absorbing scraps of draconic resistance while your Nexus skulks around for more prey. Where the Fiend might be bargaining for infernal boons and the Great Old One might be dabbling in some maddening whispers, the Hive Mind thrives on biological adaptation. Like a cohesive package, telepathy, a living swarm, and the chance to siphon power from the battlefield. When stitched together, these elements create a terrifying new playstyle, and I hope you like it just as much as I do. I designed this one with Drainos, of course, but it's available to everybody on my Patreon to play test it and give me more and more feedback so that I can release it for everybody eventually down the road to enjoy at your tables. If I made a mistake, if a feature is too underpowered or overpowered, I want to know, and thank you in advance. This video is going to be dropping while I'm away on my honeymoon, so I won't have access to read any of your comments until I get back. So if I don't respond, don't worry, I'll make sure to read them when I get back home. Let me know in the comments if you have any other cool ideas for subclasses, and I'll get working on them and see what I can come up with. Until next time, my friends, keep rolling those dice. May your quests be epic.